Okay, I had decided that I wanted to do another video on a subject that I did a while back, and of course, as time goes on in this world, there's more free data that they'll share with you on the internet, and then of course it's just a matter of cherry picking what based on your ability to discern what is more likely the truth and what's a lie, mostly because there have been one group that colonized this place, the Sumerian gods, the Anunnaki, that literally are the worst teachers that there's ever been in the history of the world. They are literally the most selfish bunch of people that there's ever been. And in humans today, you can absolutely positively see who they are. And we are definitely hybrids. We are definitely mixed with them. And we tend to, have their, terrible side of their nature that we have to deal with. Now, some of us will deal with it more than others. And then some of us honestly want to just be left alone, okay? It's just the way that it is. We're not the ones out there causing trouble amongst everybody. I've lived a life recently where, well, let's just say certainly over the last 10 years, where, for me, it goes by baby daddies. Anyway, talking about my daughter, where I have literally 4 sons that are pure chaos, grandsons that are pure chaos. And they're the sons of the worst person I've ever known in the history of my life. I'm not going to be able to think of another person that could top this person in terms of just pure wickedness. And interesting that his family are basically what I just don't believe you name your kid Demon or Damien unless you're a Satanist. That's just what I think, okay? You're going to name your kid Damien. You can't cry about what you get. Now, this guy burned his family home down when he was a kid. They put him on a piece of property, got him an education in welding, made sure that he could make an income, which he did. But then, they made him into a drug dealer too. Cornbread Mafia. He tore up, I believe, 5 different cars that we bought our daughter over the years. Destructive. He beat her up many, many, many times. She told me that she thought that he killed her. She woke up with his hands around her throat. She tells me whenever we're alone or, the baby's there, she managed to keep one. And after all that she had been through with this bastard, while she was pregnant, going through rehab, she named the kid his exact name. The conversations that I have with her, I can tell within that long whether I'm talking to her worms or her. Since she's been a little girl, she has had upper GI infections. Now we're finding out today that there are nurses coming forward saying that all of these are larvae in the upper GI tract, that they were hiding in the labs and not giving the people proper care. I just want you to know that there is a creator of all beginning. I'm certain of it. There may even be a dark side of the force and a light side of the force represented by one person of a hierarchy. 7 people, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is there's a lot of unnecessary lies that have happened here. Unnecessary. And now they're going to lie to us again. They're going to lie to us again because they're going to try to make us accept this idea of these Sumerian people who caused all the problems in this realm because they ruined their place, and then they came here and coveted this place and won't leave now, even though it was illegal for them to come here and do what they did to the hominids of this realm. And yet, there's been no great judgment at this point. I just want to say this. I am certain that there is a creator of all beginning that is looking over this situation. And I can tell you, I don't care what 5 laws Bashar tries to bring to earth. Okay? Natural law is the only one that matters, and you will continue to be judged on that basis by the creator of all. What you do, you will pay back. You will not continually seek out our good nature because of your lies. You think we're stupid. We know what you're doing. Okay? We know what you're going to present to us. No doubt you will present highly sexualized beings. They don't have no rules. They don't have no boundaries. They don't have no way to understand what good is and what bad is. This is the agenda they're ramming down your throat right now. It's a disgrace, okay? No matter what you say, it's a disgrace. I don't need to know about your personal lives. I don't want to know. I don't want you molesting my grandkids, even though at some point in their life they'll probably deserve it, based on what I can see now. You had an opportunity to come in here and do right, and you didn't. And that's all of you. That's everyone I can think of. That's Enlil, Satan. That's Enki, Lucifer, and all your children, including your fathers and your grandfathers. I don't care how high up you go. You are an abomination. You are a disgrace to any world. let alone this one. For as long as you've been getting away with your troublemaking, okay? Your parasites, you need to go. You just need to leave. We're not interested in your 5 laws that don't even make any sense. We're not into your ridiculous way of life, okay? Because you have no boundaries. Because you have, nothing but selfishness on your mind. Service to self. That's what your problem is. Anyway, personally, you will never, ever get me to agree to your crap. And I don't appreciate you possessing my daughter and trying to ruin our lives that way. I don't appreciate it. After this is over, I'm going to be the star witness against you. Okay? Be ready for it, because that's what's coming. Nothing will change my mind. Nothing. You had a chance to do good, and you did not even try. You did not even try. You people are a disgrace. You need to go back from the rock that you climbed out from under to begin with. You are the scourge of the universe. And do me a favor. Stop talking to me, people, about spiritual, okay? I see nothing good in the spirit. The spirit has no light in it, okay? You want to talk to me about souls, that's one thing. Do not talk to me about spirits. Do not accuse me of having a spirit, okay? I will send that spirit packing, just like I send all of them packing. Okay? You have not done well here. You have really disgraced yourself. And I'm surprised there aren't more people that understand what you've done. I'm really surprised about that. You have laid up riches. You are only interested in your inheritances. The powers that be coddle you in every way that they can. And now we're seeing it with our own eyes. Archons, archangels, angels, you're all worthless seed that has grown up. I've given you 15 years of my life to show me something different. You have not shown me anything different. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm not taking your deal, okay? I'm not taking your 5 stupid laws that don't even make sense. Yeah, they make sense if you're woke. So you can do whatever you want to in this world. But I'm not interested in that. Okay? Let's go to Dr. Phil. Now, I did a video on this before, so some of this material I've covered before, but I think it's the right time to cover these things. If my daughter had studied this and understood this, she might have been able to protect herself from it. But, when you deal with the spiritual, these are parasites that are bullies. They bully their way in without taking no for an answer. Betrayers, attackers, exploiters. Number 1, backstabbers. Number 2, abusers. Number 3, imposters. Remember, I've been teaching you, they have one way they present themselves. They are everything but that. Everything. People learn to say nay the first time things go out of control with these people. Learn how to say nay. It is not your fault. You are not the problem here. Takers, exploiters, reckless because they are reckless with your life. Now we could call these demons. We could call these spirits. We could call these RH positives. Easily. Now, can RH negatives be possessed? Can you have worms? Then you can be possessed. We are the sovereign here, not you. You are the squatters. You must go. The evil 8 signs to look for to identify these people. Arrogant entitlement, lack of empathy, no remorse or guilt, irresponsible, self-destructive, thrives on drama, brags about outsmarting others, collections of short-term relationships, fantasy world delusional. Boy, I put the Anunnaki rock opera on here, both the long hour-and-a-half version, plus it broken up into shorter segments. I want you to see how many times these people are delusional, living in a fantasy world, serving themselves. The nefarious 15, the ways that they exploit you. 1, they infiltrate your life with promises and flattery. 2, they create conspiratorial confidants. 3, they depend on getting your approval. That's a big one. You will not get my approval. It will never happen. We need to be separated from you immediately. They gather data to build a file on you. Misdirect and maintain a mystery about who they really are. Constantly blame others when confronted. They will lie to the point of destruction. Frauds and cheaters. Isolate their victims to foster dependency. That's my daughter. Number 10, abuse positions of power and authority. Let's not forget nepotism, which is on the list. Abuse positions of power and authority. Know your hot buttons to gain leverage. They are revisionist historians with selective memory. Am I describing for you the Anunnaki? I think I am. Two-faced, spread lies and gossip. Paranoid, passive-aggressive sabotage. Now, I never like to make these videos without covering the root cause to the problem. Here's the root cause to the problem. What blood type rejects pregnancy? RH incompatibility occurs when the mother's blood type is RH negative and her fetus blood type is RH positive. Antibodies from an RH negative mother may enter the bloodstream of her unborn RH positive infant, damaging the red blood cells. That's because we are not of like kind. Do you understand? I don't care if you're male or female. Listen to me. Listen. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. You are androgynous before you're in this world, okay? But understand, in this world, Rh negative is male. Rh negative is female. Hence, the Ma on the apron of the Freemasons. The G is for Gabriel, the one that takes care of the serpents, is responsible for the serpents. The M is for Michael. Michael is absolutely, positively the biggest murderer ever. He's a general of the nations. It's a psycho serial killer. Just like Yahweh. What two blood types cannot have babies? Rh incompatibility occurs when a mother has Rh negative blood and the baby has Rh positive blood. The mother's body will produce an autoimmune response that attacks the fetus or newborn's blood cells as if they were a bacteria or viral invader. It's because you are. You're an invader. You don't belong here. What are common characteristics shared by mass murderers and serial killers? Serial killers and mass murderers often display the same characteristics of manipulation and a lack of empathy. What differentiates the two is the timing and numbers of the murders. What is the common gene in serial killers? Studies show that low MAOA-L for low gene activity is specific for violent crimes, since it can affect the serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine systems. Males are more likely to commit such crimes in the presence of MAOA, polymorphism. Now, understand that these males are always Rh positive. Doesn't matter which one. They all have the same problem. Generally, a crisis will snap those with ADHD into brain overload condition, but the ADHD brain instead moves to a more normal mode. Thus, when others are in crisis, those with ADHD can be cool, calm, and under control. Well, I wouldn't exactly say Hitler was, nor Stalin, but one may feel that there is certainly some kind of agenda going. Do people with ADHD have the MAOA gene? In a population-based sample of 414 adolescent boys and girls, we demonstrate that MAOA is associated with ADHD symptoms in boys only. Not sure if I believe that. What ethnicity has the MAOA gene? The genetic architecture of MAOA is known to vary across different geographic subgroups. Previous studies have reported evidence for positive selection within MAOA gene region's 7 ethnic groups: Pygmies, Aboriginal Taiwanese, Chinese, Japanese, Mexican, and Russian. Mostly Eastern Asia and Northern Asia. What race was the most warrior gene? The warrior gene was found to be more or less prevalent in different ethnic groups. The 3R version, which produces less MAOA, was found not 59% in black men, 56% of Maori men, which is Aboriginal New Zealand, 54% of Chinese men, and 34% of Caucasian men. Why? Because more Caucasians have Rh negative. But make no mistake about it, it's not a racial thing. It's been, planned to be that way. It's not a racial thing. It is a blood thing, people. What percent of people have MAOA gene? Only about a third of the people in Western populations have the low activity form of MAOA. By comparison, low activity MAOA has been reported to be much more frequent, approaching 2/3 of the people in some populations that had a history of warfare. See, we didn't have that here. Not since the Civil War. This led to a controversy over MAOA being dubbed as the warrior gene. At what age is ADHD at its peak? These symptoms are usually seen by the time a child is 4 years old. 5 is my oldest grandson. Typically increase over the next 3 years. The symptoms may peak in severity when the child is 7 to 8 years old, after which they often begin to decline. Basically, they just get smarter because society teaches them how to hide all their evil secrets. How do you know if you have the MAOA gene? MAOA detector checks your DNA to see which version of MAOA gene you have. This gene is located on the X chromosome. Now understand, XX is female, right? XY is male. So this is why they say that it comes from the mother. It's inherited to the sons from the mother, which helps you if you understand the original Lilith, whose name was also Tiamat. What are the symptoms of MAOA gene? These features can include obsessive behaviors, difficulty in forming relationships, and problems focusing attention. Sleep problems, such as trouble falling asleep or night terrors, can also occur in monoamine oxidase A deficiency. That's MAOA. How does MAOA gene affect the brain? The MAOA gene predicts aggression and influences the brain's neural response to psychosocial stress. Also called the warrior gene, the MAOA gene provides instructions for making monooxidase A enzyme. Monooxidase A breaks down neurotransmitters such as serotonin, epinephrine, and dopamine. Is MAOA gene rare? Says the MAOA variant L, extremely common and occurs in about 40% of the population. What happens if you have the MAOA gene? Mutations in the MAOA gene cause monooxidase A deficiency. This condition affects males almost exclusively and is characterized by mild intellectual disability and behavioral problems. including aggressive and violent outbursts. In some cases, particular foods seem to worsen symptoms of conditions. I wonder what those foods are going to be. Everything that's not on Genesis 1:29. If it's on Genesis 1:29, no. But if it's not there, yes, there's a problem. What has the MAOA gene been linked to? The low activity form of the MAOA gene, with the L, has been linked to increased levels of aggression and violence. How does the MAOA gene affect behavior? Congenital MAOA deficiency as well as low activity MAOA variants have been associated with a higher risk of antisocial behavior and violence, particularly in males with a history of child maltreatment. That includes sexualizing little kids, smaller, they can't defend themselves. Now, how you could even call yourself a warrior is something I can't understand on any level, because all you are is a coward. That's what you are. Going to schools with drag queens and having children reading books about sexual encounters, same sex, you're a disgrace. What personality disorders do mass murderers have? This is CBS Detroit. We often hear after a mass shooting that mental health is to blame. However, a Columbia University research study found out that 1,800 mass murderers, only 8% of all mass shooters were diagnosed with a severe mental illness such as schizophrenia or severe bipolar disorder. See, it's a gene and a blood type that you carry. What are the top traits of serial killers? Serial killers differ in many ways, including their motivations for killing, their behavior at the crime scene. However, attendees did identify certain traits common to some serial murderers, including sensation seeking, a lack of remorse or guilt, impulsivity, the need for control, the predatory behavior. Yeah, I just want to have control. I don't care if it hurts. Because you're a creep and you don't belong here. What are the 14 traits of a serial killer? Lack of empathy, lack of remorse, impulsivity, grandiosity, narcissism, superficial charm, manipulation, addictive personality. One of our healthcare workers told us that she never met an abuser she didn't like. Why? My wife was very upset. She ended up telling us what is equivalent here of superficial charm. Don't buy it, people. It could mean your life. Did Ted Bundy have low MAOA? The researchers from this study concluded that MAOA and nature are two contributing factors to aggression. The serial killer Ted Bundy is an example of this idea, having a loving family but low levels of MAOA. Bundy showed high levels of aggression. Which of the 16 personalities is likely to be a serial killer? Here's a new one. However, some experts suggest that the people with the INTJ personality type are more likely to become serial killers than those with other types. INTJs are typically analytical and strategic thinkers, and they may be less likely to feel empathy or compassion of others. This is the Anunnaki, people. You see, service to self. What genes are linked to psychopathy? 6 genes to be shown to influence the risk of developing psychopathy. One of them is MAOA. You won't recognize the others. We're not going to talk about those here. What mental disorders do famous serial killers have? Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Charles Manson, all of those had personality disorders. 2 that definitely had schizophrenia. Do serial killers have a type? The 4 main types of serial killers based by the type of crime they commit are as follows: thrill seekers, mission-oriented, visionary killers, and power control seekers. Pirates. That's what they are. Yo-ho-ho. They're pirates. All they think about is booty and killing. What is the 47 chromosome disorder? 47XYY. This is where you have 2 Y's. Syndrome is caused by the presence of an extra copy of Y chromosome in each of the male cells. So it's in every cell. As a result of the extra Y chromosome, each cell has a total of 47 chromosomes instead of the usual 46. What is Superman syndrome? Reviewed by Dr. Jennifer Logan. Superman syndrome is also known as 47XYY. It is a condition classified as a chromosomal aneuploidy, which is abnormality in chromosome structure and or number in which males have an additional Y chromosome. What is the warrior gene? The warrior gene hypothesis. In August 2006, a media storm arose in New Zealand around the so-called warrior gene, a variant of the oxidase MAOA gene that has reported associations with aggression and risk-taking behavior. What is the warrior gene in serial killers? Dutch geneticist Han Bruner conducted a breakthrough study in 1933, so they've known about this since 1933, that concluded the low-acting version of MAOA was associated with violence in humans. So they've known about this since 1933. MAOA, also known as the warrior gene, codes for the enzyme MAOA. What are the first signs of a serial killer? 9 early warning signs for serial killers. Antisocial behavior. Psychopaths have a strong tendency towards antisocial. So watch for extremely antisocial children. Arson may be serial killers. Arsonists. Many of the serial killers are arsonists. Torturing small animals. There's poor family life. Childhood abuse. Substance abuse. Voyeurism. Intelligence. What are most serial killers diagnosed with? As a group, serial killers suffer from a variety of personality disorders, including psychopathy, antisocial personalities, and others. Most, however, are not adjudicated as insane under the law. The media has a number of fictional serial geniuses, serial killer geniuses, who outsmart law enforcement at every turn. They're not that smart, people. That's fictional. Are most serial killers bipolar? It depends. Some serial killers do exhibit symptoms of psychosis, while others are diagnosed with severe bipolar disorder. Which serial killer was a cannibal? Well, everyone knows that was Jeffrey Dahmer, the O positive serial killer cannibal. Also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, was an American serial killer and sex offender who killed and dismembered 17 males between 1978 and 1991. Yeah, right, Bashar. Yeah, right. That's what we want. We want more of you stupid bastards. We see the way that dolphins treat the other, mammals in the sea, especially those smaller. They terrorize the female dolphins and they kill the porpoises because you're nothing but goddamn bullies, you little gray bastards. Did our ancestors eat raw meat? Well, this subject was going to have to be covered. Homo antecessor, seen by some researchers as the last common ancestor of both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, did eat raw meat. According to dental plaque analysis, forensic evidence also reveals that this primitive ancestor was a cannibal who even preyed on infants and children. See, there you go. There's your direct relation with Phoenicians, Irish, and Neanderthal right there. It says that the Phoenician, in the video I just did for you, and the Irish were the last people to stop killing their firstborns. That's in the book of Urantia. Did Neanderthal, and by the way, who are the Neanderthals? They are the descendants of Homo habilis and Anunnaki. That is quite literally Adamo. And Lilith, or rather Tiamat, same thing, who was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, buxom beauty, who apparently wanted to be on top. It's easy to see where the MAOA gene does come from. A relatively recent archaeology investigation now sheds light on new aspects of Neanderthals' cannibalistic practices. They may have eaten other Neanderthals' flesh and brains raw. What can I say? Tribe of Dan. Did early humans eat more meat or vegetables? Meat did account for a part of these people's diets about 9,000 years ago. And I don't know if it was 9,000, I kind of doubt it, but it was definitely Neanderthal. Nobody was eating flesh until the Neanderthals. You know why? This is what the Anunnaki, first day here, what are they looking for? Animals to eat. Years ago, because of the evidence of mammal hunting, but the isotopic composition of the human bones proved that plants made up most of their diets. Well, that's true with even the many of the Rh positives today. That would be true. In other words, you go to a place where they're going to feed you in a cafeteria vegetables, and yet they're all smothered with pork and bacon. Why can't humans eat raw meat anymore? It's not really possible to eat raw meat safely because it harbors pathogens. Some people eat raw meat believing it to be healthier than cooked meat. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Why did humans lose the ability to eat raw meat? Pounding and heating food pre-digests it. So our guts spend less energy breaking it down, absorb more than if the food were raw, and thus extract more fuel for our brains. Cooking produces soft, energy-rich food. See, people, the thing that's wrong with this world is the flesh eating. I don't care if it's animal or people. That's the thing that's wrong with this world. Makes you more aggressive. Makes you a serial killer, apparently. Where does it say in the Bible to not eat meat? It says raw meat. It says Leviticus 19. Do not eat meat with the blood still in it. This is talking about Yahweh. Do not eat it with the blood still in it. If you eat blood at all, and there's no way to get the blood out, people. If you eat blood at all, you have ruined yourself. What are the humans supposed to eat naturally? This could explain why fruits and vegetables are not only good for us, but are vital to our survival. Indeed, we're one of the few species so adapted to plant-based diet that we could actually die from not eating fruits and vegetables. From the vitamin C deficiency, disease, scurvy. No vitamin C, you die of scurvy. There you go. What is Ted Bundy's blood type? Guess what? Forensic serontologists extracted blood from the DeLorange coat using the ABO system. The blood type found on the coat was O negative, which matched Bundy's. What is the blood type of most killers? The frequency of each blood type was calculated among the male inmates charged for various crimes. Blood group O positive has the most occurrences. In other words, they're the most unlawful, having the highest blood group frequency for stealing, fighting, robbery, and rape. But blood type A positive followed, having the highest frequency for inmates charged with fraud or murder. There's your Germans right there. O positive and A positive right there. Look it up. What is the selfish blood type? The type O people have been linked to characteristics such as confidence, determination, resilience, and intuition. But they are also supposedly self-centered and unstable. They are said to especially appear selfish to individuals with type A blood. Can your blood type change? Usually you won't have the same blood type all of your life. You will have the same blood type all your life. Not anymore. Not with the blood bust coming in, you know. There's just one blood they're going to have. That's going to be O. I guarantee you all the grays are O's. I guarantee you that's what they're going to want to change. Listen, if you want to have these hybrids for husbands and wives, expect yourself to be eradicated permanently. They're one step away from doing it now. They have been using a breeding program for years. It's nothing new. All the Rh negative women I know are saddled or have been saddled and soured on love because they were all in loveless relationships. If there was ever an expert on what I am teaching, it is them. Because I've heard story after 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 story. It's always the same. There is no love there. Never is. In rare cases, however, blood types can change. The change usually relates to unique circumstances such as having a bone marrow transplant or getting certain types of leukemia infections. I live with a lady who claimed to have AB blood type. She talked to her doctor. He said, no, your blood type's O. She had transfusions. That's all it took. Transfusions. Not mentioned here. What is the most athletic blood type? The ABO blood group status was also found to be independently associated with the running time, with O blood type athletes performing better than those with non-O blood groups. See, you've already been prepped that their blood is God blood, but understand we are not the same. We are not from the same cut. We, along with the A's and B's, are hominid. Remember that. Which blood type is more aggressive? Type O. Overview. According to popular belief, people with type A are friendly and kind. People with type B are spontaneous and creative. People with type O are confident and aggressive. In a logical extension of this system, those with the type AB are a mix of stereotypical A and B traits. Well, I used to be, till I found out what was going on here, and now I'm appalled. My soul will never be the same after what I've experienced here. The incredible ridiculousness of this place because of certain people. What blood type has ADHD? The risk of ADHD is increased in the presence of alleles O and A. There's your Germans. But the risk is reduced in the presence of the allele B. Hence, the A's and the O's in Germany's wanted to get rid of the B's. What blood type is bipolar? A stronger association was found between blood group O and bipolar affective disorder type 1, while bipolar affective disorder type 2 was associated with the groups A and B. I don't know what the difference is, but you can look it up. Do natives have O positive blood? Type O is particularly high in frequency among the indigenous populations of Central and South America, where it approaches 100%. See, these are the Chinese people that we think are indigenous to this world, this side of the world. But in fact, they came over from China. Remember, there was a wall there. It also is relatively high among the Australian Aborigines in the Western Europe, especially in populations with Celtic ancestors, because those are your ancestors of Neanderthal. Okay? What blood type has OCD? People with O blood type may be more likely to have depression and intense anxiety. I wonder why. Children may be at the greater risk of attention deficit disorder. People with A blood type may be more prone to obsessive compulsive disorder. Children may be at a greater risk of attention deficit disorder. Who was the pastor serial killer? I'm not going to really do this section, but just know there's a bunch of Bible people that have murdered somebody. You know, holy rollers that are basically hypocrites. Anyway, let's talk about Cain. Cain in the Bible, firstborn son of Adam and Eve. That's not true. That's the firstborn son of Samael and Eve, who murdered his brother Abel. In other words, Adam's firstborn. I had a stepbrother. Told my father I was his firstborn. He said, no, your older stepbrother is my firstborn. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Whatever union you have, Jacob had 4 firstborns. Just know that. Anyway, Abel, first person to die, is Abel at the hands of his brother, which is also the first time that blood is mentioned in the Bible. Let me tell you this. You know, the Adam, Adapa, you know, Enki's son and Enki's daughter, Titi, these were not the first Adams. First Adam was Adamu and Titi. So you have the Anunnaki providing there for the female, which is why we get the XX. X-Men, right? That's the Anunnaki. Doesn't matter whether you think that she was male or female. Doesn't matter. She's both. One is turned on, one is turned off. Same thing with Adamu. Which is also the first time that blood is mentioned in the Bible. Who did Jesus say John was? Well, he was Elijah, who is to come. This seeming contradiction naturally puzzles Bible believers and gives Bible critics an opening to attack scriptures. They don't know that there's regeneration people. And even Elijah lived a life in a different person in Moses' time. He was the one that speared the man and the woman through with the same spear. That right there was Elijah. And Elijah just doesn't seem to be able to learn how to do things any better. So he cuts 300 prophets of Baal down by the riverbank, and he loses his head. He's probably continuously losing his head. He doesn't really seem to get it because he doesn't understand natural law. These are the people that you put in charge of yourself. People like Paul, people like Jesus, who though he may have been mostly a righteous teacher, most of these bastards did worship angels. Just so you know. Because the Bible records Elijah as being taken to the heavens and he was still alive, he became a candidate for one who would one day return and proclaim the coming of the Messiah. Hence John, a second biblical figure that said to never have died, is Melchizedek, an ethereal priest king of Salem. Abraham's entire family was taught by this guy. Do you think that was Thoth? View full size Oh, I'm not going to cover this. Who is Yahweh in the Bible? Yahweh is the name of the state god of the ancient kingdom of Israel and later the kingdom of Judah. His name is composed of 4 Hebrew letters. Now, I want you to listen. YHWH. Now, in the scriptures, sometimes that's translated as Ea, Asher, Ea, when the burning bush is going on. Well, we're going to get to the bottom of this, but if you take the YHWH in the Hebrew letters and you stack them one on top of the other, you're going to get the shape of a man. Known as the Tetragrammaton, which the prophet Moses is said to have revealed to his people and sometimes given in English as Jehovah. Why did they change the name from Yahweh to Jehovah? Because they are mafia. They don't want to continually be cursed by people that figure out that since they cursed us, they're fair game now. They keep changing their names so they can't be cursed back. You understand how that works? What was Yahweh originally? Yahweh originally was a deity worshipped, now listen, by the Midianites, the Kenites, in the northwest Arabian desert. These are the descendants of Esau people. Yes, they're Arab, half Arab, because of Ishmael's daughter that Esau married when he saw that his family was very upset with him. Most of these groups that claim to be this or that, they are Canaanites that are taking the place. They're not the real people. This is why they had Tamar play the harlot for Judah. This is why they had to spread Simeon around throughout all the tribes, and half of his tribe only in Judah. But notice the Jews are mostly Canaanites. Notice that if you don't notice anything else. Now, Benjamin also had problems because remember, Benjamin had the first king come out of his, the one that was head and shoulders above everybody else, Saul. And he was known to be a ravening wolf because he partook of the sacrifices of the animals. Now, if anybody should have known better, it should have been Jacob's kids. Do you understand? Did God call himself Yahweh? God spoke further to Moses and said to him, I am Yahweh. He didn't really say that. He really said, Ea, Asher, Ea, which is I am Asher, I am. Who is Asher? Asher is Enki. And I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and El Shaddai as El Shaddai. But my name is Yahweh. In other words, he changed his name. Changed it from El Shaddai, fangs, right? That's what the shin is. But my name is Yahweh, and I did not make myself known to them. Hebrew linguist Francis Anderson suggests translating these sentences a little differently as a 4-line poem. Doesn't matter. Is Yahweh a false god? In the Archonic, Sethian, Ophite, these are all serpentine systems. Okay? Set, sunset, you get it? Sethian. Yabadoa, Yahweh is regarded as a malevolent demiurge, or a false god, little g, of the Old Testament, who sinned by claiming divinity for himself and generating the material universe and keep the souls trapped in physical bodies, imprisoned in the world full of pain and suffering. Sounds about right. Yahweh is easily one of the most cruel and unforgiving gods known to mankind. There are many verses that outright have him killing people or demanding that people be killed. Some of these punishments don't even fit the crime in most cases. According to the Bible, he wiped out humanity with the flood simply because he wasn't pleased with what he created. Now, did he really create that, or was that Enlil? See, whenever you're talking about any of these people, you're talking about all of them. I want you to try to remember that. So Enlil is actually who they're talking about there. Let me give you biblical examples of Yahweh's commanding the murder of people in the Bible before I cite the verses. Keep this in mind. One of Yahweh's commandments is thou shalt not kill. Yahweh can, but you're not supposed to be killed unless a demon tells you to. I don't even get that. Kill people who don't listen to priests. Anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of the judge or the priest who represents the Lord, your God, must be put to death. Such evil must be purged from Israel. Deuteronomy 17:12. Kill homosexuals. Now, I don't agree with homosexuality, okay? It's not for me. But whatever you're going to do, I will tolerate you with these kind of behaviors if I don't have to hear about any abuse. If you start abusing one person with these behaviors, you're going to be in trouble with me. I don't care who you are. You're going to be in trouble with me. If I catch you abusing a child or anybody, you're going to be in trouble with me. Just know that. There will be no more mystery about that. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them shall be put to death for their abominable deed. I would never do that. They have forfeited their lives, of Leviticus 20:13. No. As long as I don't have to know about it, whatever you do to ruin yourself, that's fine with me. As long as I don't have to know about it. But if you start abusing people who don't want your advances, that's a different story. That's where you're going to get the full weight of my boot sideways up your candy ass. Just know that. Whoever strikes his father or mother shall be put to death. I agree that you should, show respect to your family members. Let me tell you something. My father was demonically possessed. We had a rule: we didn't call him after 3 o'clock. He abused me as a child, and I never stopped being a son to him. I was there at the hospital the day before he died, trying to save him and take him home. But I couldn't do it without the help of his wife, who did not hold up her end of the bargain. Kill non-believers. They entered into a covenant to seek the Lord. So you can't change your mind. You're not allowed to change your mind. In demon world, mafia world, the God of their fathers and all their heart and soul. And everyone who would not seek the Lord, the God of Israel, was put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman. 2 Chronicles 15:12-13. Kill the entire town. If one person worships another god. Suppose you hear in one of the towns the Lord your God is giving you that some worthless rabble among you had led their fellow citizens astray by encouraging them to worship foreign gods. In such cases, you must examine the facts carefully. If you find it is true and can prove that such a detestable act has occurred among you, you must attack that town and completely destroy all of its inhabitants, as well as all the livestock. Then you must pile all the plunder in the middle of the street and burn it. Put the entire town to the torch as a burnt offering to your Lord the God. That town must remain in ruin forever. It may never be rebuilt. Keep none of the plunder that has been set apart for destruction. Then the Lord will turn from his fierce anger and be merciful to you, and he will have compassion on you and make you a great nation. In other words, this is a contract that I would consider null and void. I did not know when you gave your 10 commandments you were going to pull all this crap. So consider me nay. No, I'm not going to be one that I allow you to save. I don't want you to save me, because that means you will be a part of my life for whatever, another 6,000 years. I don't care. I just don't want you involved in my life at all. I gave biblical examples of Yahweh instructing his followers to murder people. I will now provide biblical evidence proving that God also gives his followers an instruction to kill children. Kill men, women, and children. Then I heard the Lord say to the other men, follow him through the city and kill everyone whose forehead is not marked. Show no mercy, have no pity, kill them all. Old and young, girls and women, and little children. But do not touch anyone that has the mark. What kind of mark is this on your forehead? Hello? That should give you a big clue right there. Begin your task right here at the temple. So they began by killing the 70 leaders. Defile the temple the Lord commanded. Fill its courtyards with the bodies of those you killed. Go. So that they went throughout the city and did as they were told. Ezekiel 9:5-7. Still not convinced. Here's evidence of God directly using his divine power to kill humans that cannot defend themselves. God kills all firstborn of Egypt. And at midnight the Lord killed all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn sons of Pharaoh, who sat on the throne, to the firstborn son of the captive in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. All these innocent beings. Pharaoh and his officials and all the people of Egypt woke up during the night. Loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone did not die. The angel of death. That night the angel of the Lord went forth and struck down 185,000 men in an Assyrian camp. Early the next morning, there they were, all the corpses of the dead. Kings 19:35. Yahweh slaughters 5,000 of his own believers. There fell down, slain of Israel, 500,000 chosen men. 2 Chronicles 13:17. If you assert that God is an all-loving God and not a murderer, you would have to refute the verses that I have just provided. I stated that the verses as written in the Bible, so I am not taking these verses out of context. I also want to preface the New Testament does not exonerate or dismiss the acts committed by Yahweh in the Bible. Who is the Lord of the Mormons? The Book of Mormon also even quotes the Torah and the prophets, including their mentions of the Lord. According to the Church of Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints, basically every mention of the Lord in the Old Testament refers to Jehovah is, and Jehovah is Jesus. Who are the killers in the Bible? Only murderers in the Bible. Cain murders Abel. Lamech murders a young man. David murders Uriah. A bunch of murders in Jeremiah. People pick a murderer over Jesus. Well, there you go. Who are the killer angels in the Bible? In the book of Enoch, angels of punishment and destruction belong to a group of angels called Satans, with Satan as their leader. First they attempt, then accuse, and finally punish and torment both wicked humans and fallen angels. In Judaism, such angels might be seen as created by one's sins. Who is God's strongest angel? That's Gabriel. You know, the one in the D that the Freemasons worship, an angel. Because see, demons can bring you gifts. God is not going to answer those kind of prayers in this realm yet. That's coming. I'm talking about the creator of all beginning. But these are nothing more than archangels. That's all they are. Archons. Gabriel in Hebrew means God is my strength, or my might of God. He is the herald of mysteries of God, especially the incarnation of God and all other mysteries related to it. He is depicted as follows. In his right hand, now pay attention. Pay attention. In his right hand, he owns the lantern with the lighted tapper inside. And in his left hand, the mirror of green jasper. Now, what is that? What did they just describe? The Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor. Which, by the way, many people have been murdered in that very building. The G in Freemasons, Freema's sons. It's Gabriel. Somebody's going to tell me Gadriel. It's Gabriel, okay? They just continue to lie. But the Freemasons know the truth about who they worship. And believe me, I've been able to ascertain it. So there you go. What are fallen angels called? These fallen angels are called evil spirits, unclean spirits, and more simply demons. In the Greek world, the word daimon, interesting, was a positive word referring to supernatural creatures midway between gods and human beings. Don't sound very true, does it? Who created Yahweh? Though no consensus exists regarding the deity's origins, scholars generally contend that Yahweh is associated with Seir, Edom, Paran, and Teman, and later Canaan. All of them places are Edomite places. Every one of them. Even Canaan. The origins of his worship reach at least the early Iron Age, and likely to be late Bronze Age, if not somewhat earlier. So, supposedly, Esau's God is associated with Yahweh. And it's interesting that all of this was due to Jethro, who was a grandson of Esau. So all of this happened because of him and Moses' relationship. Who is the father of Yahweh? Now listen, pay attention. It has been argued that in the supposed original version of Deuteronomy 32, listen, as preserved in the Septuagint, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Yahweh was described as son of El. Although some scholars disagree with this view. Well, let me tell you who El is. El is Anu and Allahu. They are a family, okay? We don't know about any higher ups, but these are the two that wrestled. Allahu lost the first fight. Second fight, he loses again, so he bites Anu's pee-pee off. So there you go. All of this is in the Anunnaki rock opera. Who is the father of Yahweh? El. Once again, and by the way, it's not El. It's Allah. Allah. A-L-A. That's the proper Hebrew pronunciation of it. El was the supreme god of the Canaanites as head god, and it says little g. El was married to Asherah, and he was the father of Baal, Anat, Yahweh, and Yam. See, it's a pantheon of gods, people. It's a family. He was often seen in the form of a bull, which is, clearly Enlil's epitaph. And Anu, he probably took it from Anu because he considered himself a descendant. Do you understand? And he was sometimes also referred to as Shor El, the bull god. Notice the Fang Shar right there. Shin. Is Allah the same as Yahweh? Are Yahweh and Allah the same deity? Listen to my answer about this, because you won't get a better answer than this. Yes, the Tetragrammaton, if stacked, forms the image of a man, whereas Allah's meaning is 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. So they are of the same family. Enki and Enlil are the object of idol worship. That's it. That's the answer. What does Yahweh look like? In Deuteronomy 4:12, his physical appearance is left unspecified, but the Lord spoke to out of the fire. You heard the sounds of words, but saw no form. There was only a voice. And the verse implies that Yahweh has an unseen form, and has no appearance at all. Here's the thing. Clever that Enki used, the Yahweh to inject himself into it by calling himself, I am Asher, I am Asher. So just know it's a family, people. It doesn't matter. Do Christians believe God is Yahweh? Yahweh is the principal name of the Old Testament God by which God reveals himself in his most sacred, distinctive, the incommunicable name of God. Well, no, he keeps changing his name because, he's got sons and daughters and fathers and grandfathers, and so, they just have to keep changing the name because they're the mafia. And that's what they do. They change identities. What? Mostly to keep from getting cursed. Mostly that's the purpose. What religion follows Yahweh? Judaism. Transition to Judaism and Samaritanism. It was during the national crisis of the Babylonian exile that the followers of Yahweh were a step further and denied that any deities aside from Yahweh ever existed, marking the transition of monolatrism to monotheism, and by extension from Yahweh to Judaism. Are Yahweh and Baal the same God? Baal and Yahweh are not the same deity. Yahweh is the name given for the Hebrew God in the Bible, whereas Baal is the name of the ancient Canaanite Phoenician deity who was the little god of fertility and rain. The Hebrew Bible says Baal is a false god or an idol who should be avoided by the Jews. See, you know, it's all about lions, people. It's all about lions. Judah the lion, Simeon the lion. It's all about lions. Why was God's name removed from the Bible? Some feel that the Almighty, I'm not going to read this because it's ridiculous. Yeah, I am. I'm going to read it. Some feel that the Almighty God does not need a unique name to identify him. That's right. I believe that. Others appear to have been influenced by the Jewish tradition of avoiding the use of the name altogether, perhaps out of fear of desecrating it. I know the Native Americans were concerned with that. On what it says at Exodus 20, verse 7. Deuteronomy 5, verse 11. To not take up God's name in vain. Now, why would God not want you to do that? Well, there's a good reason. Or could it be that Yahweh continually cursed people, so it is only natural that he, Yahweh, would not want his name cursed, because this would, you know, curse the whole pantheon. Think about it. And all Anu and Alalu's descendants. Why do Catholics not say Yahweh? Specifically, the word Yahweh may no longer be used or pronounced in songs and prayers during liturgical celebrations. The decision was based on long-standing Jewish and Christian traditions of not pronouncing the so-called divine name wherever it occurs in biblical texts. So instead, they call him properly lowered, which is proper. Fallen angel, lowered. Get it? Lowered. See, they have to put the truth out there, people. They have to. Do Muslims believe in Jesus? Muslims do not worship Jesus, who is known as Isa in Arabic. Somebody asked me about John Carter movie. That was, I enjoyed it. Isa, see? Nor do they consider him divine. But they do believe that he was a prophet or a messenger of God, and he is called the Messiah in the Quran. However, by affirming Jesus as a Messiah, they are attesting to his messianic message, not his mission as the heavenly Christ. None of this matters, okay? None of it matters. The Muslims and the Christians are going to throw together, possibly, because again, they've got to use that name. You understand? Do Muslims believe in Jesus coming back? Almost all Muslim scholars declare that Jesus will come again and defeat the Antichrist. Now keep in mind that, Islam was set up by the Catholic Church. Make no mistake about it. Okay. Now I have a whole section on Mormonism, which I may be able to get back to. Oh, and actually Gog and Magog. I may be able to get, you know what? I'm going to do my Gog and Magog. I don't have time. Sorry, I just don't have the time to do it. I'll have to do it another video. Thank you for your attention and your time. Hope you have a nice day.